Welcome to the Candle Business Coach podcast. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I am the Candle Business Coach. I'm also a mum of three and a kindness advocator. This podcast is all about making and selling candles, business development, and mindset, delivered to you with advice, inspiration, and motivation in a new episode every Friday. This episode is brought to you by the membership for candle makers, the Candle Makers Collective. Becoming a member gives you access to fortnightly online group Q&A coaching sessions to support you, monthly online workshops and trainings to help you grow your business, plus frequent expert guest speakers to inspire and teach you. You'll also have access to an ever-growing resource library with templates, guides, planners, and ebooks. But my favorite aspect of the membership is our exclusive Facebook group for accountability, connection, and support. So if you're looking to take your candle business to the next level and learn more about the membership for candle makers, click the link in the show notes for the Candle Makers Collective. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. I'm very excited to share a new candle maker conversation episode with you tonight. And I have the beautiful and amazing Terrence, who is from Hex Boon, all the way from the United Kingdom. So on the other side of the world, but luckily with technology and learning what the time differences are, we could make this conversation to happen tonight. So I'm very excited. So Terrence, would you love to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with candle making?
Hi, my name is Terrence. I'm from England, and it's a funny story really how I started candle making. It was about 2 years ago, and where I work, because I work remotely, we do remote socials. So we had a candle making social and we got sent candle making kits. And that was the first time I ever made a candle. And honestly, I didn't really enjoy it. I found it super messy. The fragrance oils that we were given weren't the best quality. So at the time, I thought, I'm never making candles again. This isn't for me. And then it was a few months ago now that I sort of got back into it. I saw another shop online that was selling these really amazing, unique wicked candles. And I thought I would love to do something like that. So I gave it another shot, and here we are. And I'm about to launch my candle and wax melt business in next week.
That is so exciting to capture you where you are at the earlier stages of your journey before you've launched, because I can just tell that you're excited about the journey and excited about the launch and the fact that it's so close. How are you feeling? Talk us through what your thoughts are like.
It's super scary, honestly, and exciting, and just everything wrapped into one. I have so much to do and it feels like hardly any time to do it. I think I was so naive at the beginning. So I want to say in May is when I started making candles, and I thought I had ideas for 2 candles, and I thought I'll just make 2 candles. I'll do a couple of tests, and then I'll just put them online and just let people buy them. And I think I was so naive looking back now, because I think if I had done that, I probably wouldn't have sold any, or I think I would have been disappointed. So I've taken my time. I am now at the point where I've got 6 candles, 3 wax melts, and I think I needed that time to just learn everything, because it is a completely new skill. And I think when people learn new skills, it can take them a very long time. And obviously I wouldn't say I've mastered it, but I feel like I'm comfortable enough now where I can put those candles out into the world and let other people enjoy them as well.
Your business name is Hex Boon. Do you want to tell the listeners what that means and where the name came from?
I love video games, and one of my favorite video games I play a lot it's called Dead by Daylight. And in the game, there is a killer. It sounds a bit scary, but it's honestly not. One person plays the killer, and then other people play survivors, and you have to escape the killer. And the killer has like this magical sort of power called a hex, and the survivors have a magical power that can help them called a boon. And I really like the idea of like the dark and the light. So one is a curse and one is a blessing. And it kind of really like spoke to me as well in real life, like how we all go through like dark and good times. And I think when I was starting making my candles, I was in a bit of a place where I needed something for me, something to enjoy. So it kind of brought that light into my life a little bit. Approaching 30 now and kind of feeling a bit like I didn't really have anything in life that like was mine that I could do and enjoy. So yeah, that's how it came about really. And then I like bringing like the magical aspect of it into it. So with my candles, they're kind of based around those magical elements. The names of the candles are named after different powers in that video game, but I didn't really want to like base the candles directly on the game as such. I wanted to like make them my own, but it's just sort of inspired by those elements.
I was looking at your Instagram and it says in the bio, curating magical moments. And I think that's such a succinct and beautiful way to sum up the imagery that you've chosen for your jars, the colors of the wax, the embeds. Like there's just so much love and attention that's been put into your candles and your wax melts. And it does, when you look at the imagery and you look at the products, it does feel magical. It does feel like there's an element of mystery and excitement. And I'm so excited to hear how your launch goes.
Yeah, so thank you, by the way. I really did spend a lot of time on trying to develop them, and they definitely didn't look like that at the beginning, I can tell you. And I'll probably post pictures on social media one day of like my first candles. But yeah, so I was originally hoping to launch on Friday the 13th because it kind of matched with everything. It kind of thematically like fit in. But I don't want to just put a day on something and then if everything's not like in place, I don't want to just rush it. So I'm hoping by Monday, I should have everything. I just got all my boxes for my parcels and stuff delivered yesterday, and I still need to figure out like how I'm going to package it, do my product photography. So yeah, I have a lot to do. So I'm just hoping I can get it all done.
I can certainly relate to and understand that there is a very long list of things that are needed, required, essential to launching a business. And it can feel overwhelming. It can feel at times that there is, as you said before, so much to do and not enough time. And sometimes when we put that pressure on ourselves to give ourselves that hard deadline, it can cause more stress and overwhelm. So it's good that you're able to recognize that and see and say, look, I'm going to do this on my timeline to what feels right for me and not rush it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I always have a vision in my mind of how I want things to look and how I want them to be. But I know in reality, like it takes a few tries to get that vision, exactly how you envision it. With my candles, like I've just learned, that's something I've learned, is that it's not going to turn out the way you think straight away. So like with my packaging, for example, I know that it might take a few tries to get it to look exactly how I want to. So it's just allowing myself to take that time really to develop it and get it to how I want it to be.
Absolutely, because when we have a vision in our mind of how we want something to look, we don't want to settle for second best. We want to keep trying and we want to keep working towards and, try different things, see what fits, what doesn't, and, figure it out as we go. Sometimes our first attempt isn't what's going to end up as the final result. And that's just a matter of learning and figuring it out and, sometimes fumbling our way through it. But I love that the meaning behind your business and the meaning behind the name is so personal to you. And I think that's one of the challenges that some candle makers have is they don't know what's going to set themselves apart from other candle makers. Sometimes they don't even know what to call their business, which is, such an important decision to make. But you were so clear and have so much clarity around, this is something that's important to me. This is something that I want to bring into the marketplace. And I want to have my own spin and my own personal touch on these beautiful candles. What would you say has been your biggest win so far?
I think just having some feedback from friends and family about the way they look and smell, I think it's just given me a bit more confidence. Obviously, I've not had customers yet, but I do have friends and family who, they want to buy them when they launch. And that was the thing as well. I didn't want them just to buy them because they're like, oh, Terrence is making candles, we better just buy them to try and, support, even if they're not that good. But I feel like when people say that they like them, I feel like it's genuine and not just saying it to be nice. So I feel like that's been a really big win for me. And also just overcoming like the self-doubt. And there has been a few times where I have thought, why am I even doing this? What's the point? It was weird because when I had the thought in my head of what I wanted to do, it's like my mind and body just goes into like automatic. It's like I was possessed to make candles and I don't even know why I was doing it. But then sometimes I did question, if I should be doing it, because obviously time, money, and resources put into it. And then it's frustrating when things don't work, they go wrong. So I think just overcoming the problems when things don't work out, and then just having the resilience to sort of just take a minute and bounce back from that, it's just been I think it's been one of the biggest lessons I've learned so far.
Starting a business is starting a personal growth journey, and not everyone is aware of that or realizes that when they begin. And there's so many mindset challenges that come up of, am I worthy of this journey? Will I find success? Will I fail? Our minds can get stuck in that muck. And when we don't allow ourselves to work through those struggles, we can get stuck and we can go nowhere with our business. So the fact that you've not only recognized that, but you're acknowledging it as a part of your journey and as a positive overall experience of growth is so beautiful and so wonderful to see. And I think that's what many candle makers I speak to don't always realize, is that it is going to be a journey, a lifelong journey of growth if we want to have success in our business, because where our business is now is going to look different in 3 months' time, 6 months, 12 months. So it's just part of the adventure of life, right? Like we learn and we grow as we go. And when we can look at that as an adventure as opposed to just another thing on our to-do list, it allows us to really enjoy the journey so much more.
Yeah, definitely. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I just love that saying of you can't compare yourself to anyone else. You can only compare to how far you've come. And I think it's really important because there's a lot of other candle makers out there who are doing amazing things. And if I compared myself to them, who've been doing it for months, years even, then I probably would have quit, because I think my candles or my posts on social media aren't as good as theirs. But I think you've just got to take into account that the more time you have and the more practice, the better you're going to be. And I think if I had probably known at the beginning how hard it was going to be and the problems I was going to face, that I probably would have quit. So I think it's really important for people that are starting out that you just take it one step at a time. Like I probably was naive at the beginning, but if I hadn't thought, oh, I'm just going to make 2 candles and just put them online, then I probably wouldn't have taken the next step and the next step. So yeah, it's really important just to take those baby steps so you don't overwhelm yourself, because otherwise I think you would just want to quit.
There's a high percentage of businesses that don't succeed. And I feel like there are so many different factors that are part of whether a business will find success or not. But when we take into account that if we just keep doing the next right step, like you say, and just keep putting that one foot in front of the other and just keep our heads, our blinkers on and just focusing on our path, then as long as we're improving from the person that we were the day before, we're going to keep getting better and better. And that's why it's such an adventure and such a privilege that we have to be on our journeys with candle making and business and life, that if we don't acknowledge that and take some gratitude into it, it can be more challenging than it needs to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of challenges, what are some of the challenges that you've faced with candle making and with getting your business ready for launch?
There's just so many complicated elements, I feel. At the beginning, you have to just try so many, in terms of fragrances, you have to just try so many, because there's literally thousands and thousands out there. To get what you want, it is so difficult. I feel like there should just be a massive candle making warehouse where you could just go to and just smell everything. I think that would be a good business idea for candle makers, because to order things online, and no matter how good the description is with the notes and everything, you just never know until you smell it if you're going to like it or not. So that was one thing, just going through so many fragrances. Wicks has just been an absolute nightmare. I think I've finally got it now, but yeah, that was so difficult. Just all the elements, really. The wax was a tough one, but I think, yeah, it's just good to start out with the basics. Whatever wax you're using, soy wax, I think most people do start with 464. That's what I started with. And yeah, that was really difficult. In terms of the business, I feel like a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and it is the social media marketing side of it. As I say, I thought I could just put candles on Etsy or something and just, they would sell themselves type thing. But I'm finding it a bit difficult to get followers, get likes on my posts. And then you do question yourself, are these good? How am I not getting I'm only getting a few likes and a few follows here and there. So that can be difficult, especially when you're not really used to doing social media. So that has been a big learning curve and something that I'm still getting to grips with. But, I'm taking it one step at a time again with that kind of thing, because I only had like 5 followers, for instance, and then a few days later I had 10 followers, and 10 followers isn't a lot, but it's double than what I had a few days before. So I'm just trying to think of it in a positive way, and just hoping that once I launch and I'm getting more posts out there, that the growth will happen.
It's one of those things that sometimes we need to remember that everyone starts with 0 followers. And sometimes people will follow us because of our posts. Sometimes they'll follow us because of reels or stories. Or it could be a combination of any of those elements. And when we start to bring in more followers, we sometimes think, as you say, are the products that I'm presenting or the images that I'm taking, are they connecting with my ideal customer, or are they attracting just people that like the images, or are they actually wanting to purchase the candle and make that next step and become a customer of mine? And it's one of those things that when we first start out, we just don't know how the market will respond to what we're creating. But because your candles, and I'm looking at them now on your Instagram, they're so unique. And I feel that the type of followers that you'll be attracting will love the story and the meaning behind the business name as well, and where the names of the candles have come from. But it's about getting yourself out there and being as consistent as possible to start to generate more followers, more likes, more comments, and all of those things that help bring in more potential customers. So it's definitely a journey, and it can be confronting when we haven't done it before, or if we're not as comfortable, being in front of the camera, or, doing reels, or just talking about our products, because we don't want to come across as salesy. We want to come across as genuine. And when we love our products so much, we want other people to love them too. And it's a challenge or an experience that so many of us need to grow through, is that being on social media is a part of growing our business if we want to sell online. So it will be a journey ahead of you, but that's part of the adventure.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of people said it's really important to put yourself out there and let your customers know who you are. And, with whether that be like showing your face on pictures and videos, making candles, that's definitely something that I want to do. It's just so out of my comfort zone. Like putting myself out there as well. Like it was hard enough to put the candles out there, but then to put yourself out there and say, I've made these, it's another level. But yeah, that's definitely something that I want to do when I launch, and hopefully that helps a bit as well.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that when we first start out, and even when we've had some experience like showing ourselves on camera, sometimes we'll do a reel and we'll be really vulnerable, or we'll just share a story and it won't get many likes, it won't get many comments. But that's not to say that what you've put out into the world isn't valuable or worthwhile. It's just some people will just like to watch and they won't necessarily engage with the content that you put out. But I'll tell you, like it is scary the first few times you do it, because you're like, I'm putting myself out there for the whole world to potentially judge. What will people think? What will people say? How will I be received? But when you don't focus on what other people think, and you only focus on, I'm going to keep pushing the boundaries of my comfort zone little by little, and I'll keep growing and growing, you look back on how far you've come, and you can't help but feel anything but pride, because you are growing as a person and you're growing as a business owner.
Yeah, and I did actually put a video of myself on TikTok, like unpacking candle supplies, and it did actually it was probably one of my more liked videos, but I ended up deleting it because I didn't like the caption on my TikTok page, because it was a different font and everything, because I didn't know about like the caption like on your profile, and it was a different font to all the other videos, and my OCD was going insane, like that's really sticking out, so I deleted it in the end. But yeah, I definitely want to do more of those.
It is fun. Like it's fun learning how to use different platforms, the social media platforms, as well as figuring out what sort of messages we want to share with the world with our products and just with our own journey as well. But it's almost like it's another job, having a social media presence, and it takes time to learn, it takes time to implement, and it takes time to maintain. And it's one of those things where you want to be consistent and appear regularly on the different platforms, or whatever platforms you choose to appear on. but there is a lot of effort behind the scenes that goes into creating social media content. So yeah, I'm not going to lie. It is definitely a journey that you will go on, as with all the listeners that go on the social media path of connecting people to their websites through social media to potentially get sales. But if, again, we look at it as a perspective of just enjoying the journey and just taking it day by day, like you said, just putting one foot in front of the other and just figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah, definitely. I try to show my journey as much as possible with making all of my candles, and obviously I'm going to do more behind the scenes of like my product photography and things like that. But I do take my hat off to people that are like content creators or full-time social media people, because I feel like they get a lot of flack where people think it's not a real job. But I think it must be so hard, like to go from, as you say, everyone starts out with 0 followers, and to have that amount of growth. Anyone that's doing amazing at social media, I just take my hat off to them because it's really difficult.
Are you ready for personalised support for your candle making journey? Hi there, my friend. I'm Kirsty Allen, the Candle Business Coach, and I help candle makers like you with mindset and business strategy, as well as troubleshooting your candle making struggles. With my private coaching, we'll work together to set and achieve your goals. And whether you need a single session for clarity or a series of sessions for ongoing support, I'm here to help you every step of the way. Check out the show notes for details of my private coaching sessions and packages, and let's achieve your goals one candle at a time. What are your goals for your business?
I like to think of it as like a little virtual magical shop where I sell my magic little candles and wax melts. And then in the future, I want to branch out into other things, maybe like soaps and bath products and other things like that. And then I'd love to do markets one day in the future. That would be amazing. It's a bit difficult where I live in a city, and the only markets are like, there's no little kind of craft markets, which I think be like a good stepping stone into markets. The only ones we really have are like these massive ones that happen every weekend, where there's like hundreds of people and there's so many sellers. There's quite a few candle sellers as well, and it just feels like such a big mountain to climb to get there. So it's very scary and daunting. But I definitely want to do a market. Probably, I don't know, we'll see how things go, but maybe hopefully like at the beginning of next year. So that's something I'm working towards. Obviously, I'm going to start off on Etsy, but then I would like to have my own website as well towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. So I have those goals that I want to achieve. And obviously I have loads and loads of ideas for candles. That's what I think about literally, is like, what am I going to do next? What kind of scents? And I do have plans for the next 3, 4, 5 candles, but obviously I know that there's no point just going out and just making all those candles. I need to like really put these first lot of candles out there, get the feedback from friends, family, customers, and make sure that they're like solid and good first before I run off and start making loads of other different candles.
And it can be hard because, fragrance oils, when you find ones that smell beautiful and you've got ideas to be creative with the colors and the design, it can be really hard to pull back and show that discipline and self-restraint. So I'm very proud of you for not jumping in the deep end. You're taking your time, which is really important. And that way, once you launch your products and you have some feedback, as you say, from your customers, that will help guide you as to what they might want next, which can sometimes feel like limiting your creativity, but from a strategic point of view, it means that you're making something that people actually want to purchase, which will then bring more money into the business to allow you to be more creative. So it is a bit of give and take, and learning what our customers want is so important, and we don't know until we try. So it's so exciting that you're so close to launching, because you'll soon find out from your customers how your products will be received, and once you have that feedback, you can make more informed choices and decisions.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the missing piece that I don't have at the moment, is just knowing what my customers want. And when I've told people, or my partner's told people, because he loves telling everyone that I'm making candles. The first thing that most people say are like, "Oh, can you do, a dupe of such and such fragrance, or this designer perfume, and like I don't know, like a Jo Malone type candle?" And it kind of like hurts me a little bit, because that's not my brand. Like, I'm not doing designer like fragrance dupes. So if that's something that people want, I'm not against like doing a fragrance that like that, but in a Hex Boon type candle. I'm not against that. It's just I think there's obviously lots of different types of candles, and that's something that scares me is that I don't want some people want something that's like not aligning with what I want or like the brand, then that I think would be difficult. But I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, like everything else.
What's your favorite thing about candle making?
I love the final result, and I know that sounds like I'm just jumping ahead, but I really love having a candle that's burning and I've made it. In terms of the actual process of it, I do find it very like escapist. Like it just takes me out of real life for a couple of hours. As I say, I'm always listening to the Candle Business Coach podcast when I'm making candles. Which has been super helpful. Everyone that's been on the podcast has given me some sort of great advice. There's so many people out there as well online, like Black Tie Barn and Erica from Memory Box Candle Co. Like that, I've just literally for the last 3 months, I've just absorbed like a sponge all the information, things people have talked about, all candles. So that has been really helpful. So just taking that time to be able to listen to other candle makers whilst making candles is just my favorite part.
I love that so much. And not because you listen to my podcast as well, but that you immerse yourself in the world of candle making and what other makers are creating and enjoying listening to their stories as well as losing yourself in the process. When you find something creative that allows your mind to switch off on different levels to just be in the moment and to be present is such a powerful thing. And, candle making is not for everyone, but I truly believe that everyone has a need to be creative in some way. So when you find the thing that makes your heart light up, it's just so rewarding in so many different ways. And it makes sense that we want to share that with other people.
Yeah, you're definitely right with the creativity. I think that is the main thing because that was something I was lacking. I've always had a creative side and I have like a writing background. So I have an English degree, creative writing. But because I work a job that's like on my laptop writing 8 hours a day, I always find it difficult to find that time to do creative writing. So when I found candles and found that I could tell stories through candles, that was something that just kind of amazed me. And that's what I really enjoy about it. And don't get me wrong, like it has been difficult, especially like developing these candles and making what each individual candle one by one has been hard, but just with the actual process of the candle making and then having to clean everything out like afterwards is a whole nother story. Like to get started on the cleaning because I probably spend like 80% of the time cleaning and 20% of the time making candles. But yeah, the creativity and the freedom in that. And just, yeah, not having anyone tell you what to do and everything is like your idea is honestly like the best part of it.
It's so powerful that we get to be in control and have full agency over the decisions we make and the products that we create. And yes, absolutely cleaning and and getting the materials and supplies ready takes more time than you think until you've actually done it a few times. And then you realize, okay, this is just part of the process. But it's just not as fun as when you're mixing fragrance into the wax and pouring them whilst listening to a podcast or music or, that part of it is so much more fun than the cleaning. I have to agree with you there.
Well, I'll tell you what's not fun is I'll just give everyone a piece of advice is that just do not put wax down your sinkhole because when I first started, I did that, and some waxes were okay, and I wasn't really pouring it directly down the sink, but I thought it would be fine. I'd been washing it a certain way for a while, and then yeah, it blocked the sink up, and I had to do a bit of Googling and become a plumber for half an hour and just sort of undo the pipes and clear them all out.
No.
And that wasn't fun. But yeah, luckily I was able to sort it out myself. And now I literally just use the hot water and clean the wax out before I wash everything. So yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. That is the hot tip of this episode is do not put the wax down the drain. I'd love to know what gives you motivation when things get tough.
There's just something in my brain that says you have to keep going. And I don't know what it is, but I just feel like everyone must have felt at some point that things are too difficult and it's too hard to keep going. But there's sort of no other choice because failure and quitting just isn't an option. And I know it's okay sometimes to say something hasn't worked out and, it might be better to not carry on doing it. Sometimes that is okay, and maybe one day I might just get to breaking point and it might happen. But I feel like, yeah, there's just something that's always telling me that you just have to keep going. You have to see where it takes you. You have to say that you tried like absolutely everything before you gave up because it's too hard. So yeah, that's kind of what keeps me going. And then just on the other side of it, there is more good than bad. So when I do come across difficult things, I try to remind myself that, okay, it's hard right now, what problem you're facing, but once you solve the problem, you're going to get all the good stuff that goes along with it as well. So that's kind of what gets me through.
I love your perspective and your attitude on approaching problems, challenges, issues with that mindset of this is just a temporary hurdle. I can get through this. And then I have all these beautiful outcomes that come after that. So I think it's so important to be able to tap into what works for you in terms of motivating ourselves when we do come up against our challenges. But as you say, like these are just problems that we can find solutions to. And once we've figured out the solution, we've grown, our business has grown, and then we move on and we keep making beautiful candles.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, there's things that you can do to sort of stop yourself from getting in those difficult spots. I think for a while I was just all about candle making and working on my business, and I was working a full-time job, and then all my spare time was working on candles. And I got to a point where when I was making the candles, I was just finding it difficult, like because I was rushed and I was feeling tired and exhausted, and that was a difficult time. So I think now recently I've started to organize myself a little bit better, make sure that I'm taking time out to go to the gym and all those things that are good for you. I'm trying to incorporate more so that when I'm doing my candles, I have a bit more stamina or a bit more like mental capacity to overcome difficult situations. So yeah, that's definitely been a useful thing to learn as well. It's just to take care of yourself because it can be very overwhelming at times, and it's okay just to take that time for yourself, because even though you might not be working on your business directly, like it will help you when it comes to working on your business if you are looking after yourself.
100%. Taking our health and prioritizing our self-care benefits all aspects of our life, but especially our business when we do come up against those challenges, as you say. And it's so important to prioritize spending time away from the business as well. We want to have that healthy balance where we can find, this elusive balance. But when we take care of our health and we take care of our bodies and our minds, it means that we've got more to give into our business. We can't pour for an empty cup, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. It was a point where I realized that I had to do it, because if I didn't, then I'd just burn out too quickly.
Mhm.
Because I do like to get obsessed over things, so I became a bit too obsessive about making sure that my candles were the way I wanted them and my business and everything. So yeah, I like to break things up now, and it's just whatever works for you. Like you can do things before you make candles, after you make candles. I like to spread candle making throughout my day, so I'll do one thing and then I'll take the dog for a walk, and then I'll go back to the kitchen and do another thing, and then I might watch a TV show and then I'll go back. I like to have my brain in different places. So yeah, that really helps me, and just so I feel like I found a good way of working for me now.
It's so important to figure out how we can be the most productive. And that doesn't mean that we have to stick with one task for multiple hours. You've worked out a system that works for you, that fits in with your lifestyle and fits in with fits in around your work and fits in with the business. And it's perfect. It makes your brain happy and it makes your heart happy too.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you define success?
I think it comes back to just overcoming those challenges and difficult obstacles. You have to find little successes, I think, whether that's just every day or once a week. Those successes of making a good candle that burns nicely and smells nice, the success of making a social media post and someone commenting saying that they love what you've done. You have to take those small successes, because I think if you concentrate too much on the big successes that you want in the future, it's good to have those in your mind, but I feel like a lot of the big things can be quite far away in time, and you could get into a negative mindset if you're not achieving those things quickly. Like to me, in the future, success would be being able to work less hours at my job so I could do more hours making candles and going to markets and speaking to customers and just having people come back and buy candles again. Like that's success in the long term. But I know that's not going to happen tomorrow. So just right now it'd be great just to, put my candles online. That would be my success within the next week.
It's amazing because it means that you're taking big steps at the same time of taking little steps. Like the little steps need to be done so that the big steps can happen. But when you have a big success, such as when the candles go online and you get officially launched, that is such a huge milestone in your business. But it's taken so many steps to get you to that point, and each of those steps is a success, as you say, along the way.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know why, and I'm probably being naive again, but I always thought that, once I've launched and I'm online, like it would be a bit easier just because I hate the anticipation and having done this for months and months and no one really knows. Like I've got my Instagram and TikTok, but like no one's been able to buy them, and just having that anticipation and build up of working on something, but it not actually happening yet. And I think just for it to happen, I think will be such a bit of a relief as well, because it's just been such a moment to build up to that I feel like it won't necessarily be easier, but it will be a bit of a relief where I can be like, right, so it's just out there now. So there's not really much more that I can do in terms of just working on the business.
Once we're on the other side, once you are on the other side of your launch, there is that relief and that release of I've done it. It's out there in the world, and now we can work on the marketing side rather than just purely the creating side. You still get to create at the same time, but it doesn't feel like it's hidden away from the world. It's not just yours anymore. You get to share it with everyone, which is so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been a bit of a weird sort of time because, I mean, we're coming into candle season now, which is great, but it's so difficult because I see everyone else making their Halloween products, candles, wax melts, and their Christmas candles, wax melts. And you feel like you're kind of missing out in a way because, I haven't really got time to like launch Halloween themed things. But then I learned at the same time that you don't really have to do what everyone else is doing. Like that would be a good thing for next year, and I can plan ahead for that. But yeah, I've got what I've got, and I've got to be proud of what I have. And yeah, try not to focus too much on what everyone else is doing.
That is one of the biggest lessons to learn, and one of the hardest as well, because we do have that fear of missing out. We do have that fear of, should I be doing more? Should I be creating more? And I think particularly at this stage of your business, it's so important not to get distracted by those shiny objects. We want to just focus on what you've created so far, test the market, see what your customers are wanting from your brand, and then you can build and grow and change and pivot as time goes on. And as you said, there's always next year. There's, Halloween comes every year, so does Christmas and all the other milestones as well. So it might not be that you have those particular products for 2024, but there's always next year and beyond.
Yeah, and I can't wait because I have so many ideas.
We can't wait to see them. Terrence, we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast where I ask all my guests 3 questions relating to candles. Number 1, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
Oh, that is so hard. I love rose, anything with rose. I have a rose perfume. I just love rose. And I just did my wax melts yesterday, which were rhubarb and rose. I think the rhubarb was kind of overpowering, but you could smell the rose a little bit. So yeah, but I do actually strangely prefer like fresher, more soapy, like not necessarily floral scents, but just those fresh scents that I do prefer. But yeah, anything with roses, I'd probably buy
it. And make it now that you can.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Question number 2, what do you love about candles?
I've always just loved they are like a treat. They are something that you would buy for yourself. And I always used to buy them and then be scared to light them because I thought, I don't want to light it and then it's gone. But there was someone on your podcast, and sorry, I can't remember who said it, but it was like, you don't have to, wait for a special occasion to light a candle. You should just, if you're going to treat yourself to buy it, you should light it and enjoy it. And that is definitely something that I've started to learn now I've made them, is that, yeah, you should just enjoy them because they are beautiful. And now that I've started making them, I recognize the work and the creativity that goes into every candle because someone has made them. I think beforehand, when I used to just go into shops, and we used to have like a home shop in town. It doesn't exist anymore, but it used to sell like loads and loads of candles from all different companies. And I used to just, you don't really think much about it. You just think, oh, it's a nice candle and you buy it. But now I really recognize just everything that goes into them and I appreciate them so much more.
It's so funny when we think back to before we made candles that we had no idea just how much testing was involved and how much patience it required of the candle maker to create something that is so beautiful and smells amazing. So once we've made the leap into becoming candle makers, we suddenly realize, wow, there's a lot of art as well as science involved in making these beautiful products that we get to enjoy when we're, having a bubble bath, or we've just cleaned the house, or we've got friends over or family, or we just want to, read a book on the couch with a candle burning in the background as it rains gently outside, or whatever the situation might be. But when we indulge and treat ourselves by actually lighting the candles that we've purchased, it's almost like honoring the candle maker and honoring ourselves by enjoying it rather than, just having it gathering dust or sitting in the cupboard somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the last question is, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers?
I think I said it before and I'll say it again because I think it's so important, is to take one step at a time and don't go 10 steps ahead. Because I think it's, like I said, if I wasn't naive at the beginning and just thought I would just make 2 candles and I didn't realize all the other things that were involved in making candles or starting a candle business, then I probably wouldn't have continued. So just do not overwhelm yourself. There is a lot that goes into candle making. If anyone can make one candle that burns nicely, just burns all the way to the end, doesn't tunnel, doesn't explode, especially if you could just make one good candle, then that is the first great step in doing whatever you want to do, whether it's making candles for yourself, your family, or starting a candle business, because there's just so much that goes into it. So yeah, don't overwhelm yourself, I would say.
That's such great advice, and it really is such a beautiful way to end our episode. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. For any of the listeners that would like to get in touch, where can we find you online?
So I'm Hex Boon on Instagram, and then I'll have all of my other social media linked on there as well.
Thank you so much, Terrence, for your time. I so appreciate our conversation tonight, and I'm so excited to hear what the listeners think of our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kirsty. Honestly, it's been really surreal and amazing, so thank you.
Thank you, my friend, for listening to this episode. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout the conversation, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're feeling inspired, I would love it if you would write a review for the podcast and give a 5-star rating. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.